To the wrongs that need resistance, to the right that needs assistance, to the future and the distance, give yourselves. Illinois was on the forefront of women's activism, becoming the first state east of the Mississippi River to pass a law that granted women the right to vote in presidential elections. Through coalition and partnership, the power of the League was not one person, but the collective group of women advocates like Grace Wilbur Trout, Jane Addams, Maude Wood Park, and many others whose contributions were an indelible part of our history. But the League's past is far from perfect. The price of women's suffrage was the exclusion and eviction of women of color. Women like Alpha Suffrage Club founder Ida B. Wells were forced to continue their work outside of the efforts of the white women's suffrage movement, led in part by the League. But the future of the League would work to right those wrongs. Its members would eventually open their minds to the struggles of women of color and acknowledge the intersection of their fight for justice. In 1946, in response to World War II, the rise of women in the workforce, and larger numbers of women enrolling into higher education institutions, the National League of Women Voters became the League of Women Voters of the United States. The League began to modernize with a new and revised emphasis on voter services with updated guidelines on nonpartisanship and candidate forums. Local leagues gained in recognition with only one league in a community, giving more opportunities for stronger local studies, action on every level of government, and tailored response to the needs of each neighborhood. The League took the foundation of its success with the suffrage and women's rights movements to help build coalitions and partnerships with other organizations on emerging issues. In the spirit of common good and community, the League was able to expand its focus and to bring its fight to key legislation and issues like the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The League was not always at the forefront of every movement, but it was always willing and able to stand in solidarity to right the wrongs of history. The passion of the past continues into the future. Local leagues and their members have continued to fight and stand strong in the role of advocates for informed participation in government. The League has helped to champion Voting Rights Act amendments of 1982, underwriting 150 debates on every level of government. The National Voter Registration Act in May of 1993, known affectionately as the Motor Voter Law. Bipartisan Campaign Finance Reform Act of 2002, otherwise known as the McCain-Feingold Act. Renewing the Voting Rights Act. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. The Equal Rights Amendment. The League joined and eventually led the fight for the ERA. As the League once served as a nerve center for women's advocacy in 1920, it continues to be an integral part of the future. It is our work that has made it possible for women to have a seat at the table. And we aren't done yet. We honor our past, however imperfect, but we look to a more perfect future. The League continues to evolve, inspiring younger generations to get civically involved, adding more people in our democracy, and advocating for a community legislative agenda. Today, the League of Women Voters of Illinois is working on creating fair maps through the redistricting process, engaging disenfranchised groups to help empower them with civic education and advocacy, fighting voter suppression, advocating for affordable housing, gun violence prevention, educating on the fair tax referendum, and much, much more. We envision a democracy where every person has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate. This is only our first 100 years. Join us for the next 100. Become an advocate. Become a donor. Become a volunteer. Become a member. Become a part of the League.